Hey guys, time for another video. Today's the subject of discussion will be psychic implants, dream manipulation, psychic phenomena, overall the negative impacts that can happen through these abductions and through these manipulative instances that happen throughout our lives. Now I had some other ideas that I was going to get to potentially. We'll get to later on, but thank you to Christian on Twitter. He really inspired me to do a video about this. I felt much more inspired to act on this video, so we're gonna get this one out for you guys. Now, I've had some experiences with this myself, okay, and I've been studying much more of the dark aspect of what's happening here. I'm studying much more of the dark, I guess, rather than the light, because I feel there's more truth there in the dark, right? In our pursuit for truth, we must really be willing to look at the dark, whereas the light can have the false light as well, whereas the dark is just dark. Now, the false light is an emanation of the dark, obviously, but it's kind of like there's more need to discern when looking at the light, because there's the false light that masquerades as light, right? And upon studying these entities, upon studying people that have dealt with such beings, you get to learn a bit about their tactics, a little bit about what they're trying to achieve, right? Their motivation, and the overall manipulation that they use to really use our own power against us. Because, like I've said before, they have no real power, right? They are more so copy pasters. They're more so into deception, into manipulation, because we are the ones that hold the power, right? That's why the biggest trap for a prisoner is when they themselves don't think or don't know that they are in a prison, right? It's hard to break out of something which you've accepted as home, right? And I apologize ahead of time for the sniffling and the croaky voice, in a sense. Bit of a cold. I have a bit of a cold, but something you'll have to deal with throughout the video, so just be aware. I've discussed before a little bit that there are many psychic people, many people that are gifted, right? They have kind of their third eye opened, or they have more access to the spiritual realms than some of us may, and that does not automatically mean they are good people, okay? Just to set that straight. Just like someone that's super strong doesn't mean they're necessarily going to use it for good. So be aware that these people can definitely be manipulated. They can definitely be used to then influence you to make a certain decision. So constantly seeking outside yourself for example, tarot readings, or any sort of reading that is meant to give you answers outside of yourself, can definitely be used against you, can be used to hijack your decisions, your own intimate life, let's say. Now, I don't fully advise against them, right? There are, of course, certain messages that can pop up for you in your life, certain signs from source. But to someone that has been completely disconnected from their own sense of power, own sense of sovereignty, from source, from their own decision making, from their own rationale, let's say, even their own intuitive guidance, these messages, they don't start popping up when you start searching for them, right? In a sense, instead of being intuitively guided towards a message, which can still even be manipulated, you may feel like, oh, that was an intuitive guidance, oh, that was a synchronicity, and it was a setup. But when you're actively searching for it, when you're actively saying, oh, I need a reading from this so-and-so because last time they told me some good news and I need to figure out where I'm at, or something like that. Well, again, you're not trusting yourself, you're not trusting your own guidance. And from a more positive perspective, we can say the universe is teaching you a lesson to regain that sovereignty. From a more negative perspective, we can say you're being manipulated. Okay. So what can happen is, let's get into the dream aspect. Someone that doesn't know that they are implanted, right? Because that was the main question that was addressed to me. How do you know you're implanted? Someone that doesn't know that they're implanted, doesn't know that upon incarnating in this realm, which has been hijacked potentially from, you know, from a more benevolent state, you get implanted automatically with traumas, with generational things, with actual implants in your etheric bodies, right? They're called crucifixion implants. Some of them they're called J seals. Some of them Jehovah seals. Some of them mainly just attack your feminine energy, which connects you to the higher source, connects you to a higher intuitive self. And then these beings feed upon that. They pull certain strings, right? They create a certain reaction from you, an influence. They say, oh, you have this trauma regarding love, or this trauma regarding education, or your parents, or you're set up into a very difficult childhood, which then creates more traumas because you agreed to some contract and you were promised some sort of thing, and you were told that, oh, because your past actions succumbing to this experience will make it better. Manipulation, from my opinion, right? And then you start kind of realizing these things. Maybe you start waking up, even you start paying attention to your dreams more. Or even if you aren't paying attention, you start getting these dreams that, let's say, lead you to a girl, right? I was on occult podcast, with Ngombe and Rowan was describing that he can attest to that he was influenced towards a certain girl, which ended up in this intense heartbreak for him because of a dream he all of a sudden had, which inclined him to that person, which he wasn't inclined to before, right? Sorry, Rowan, if you're watching this, don't mean to put you on the spot or use you as an example, but that was the first thing that came to mind. So this sort of thing can happen. All of a sudden you have maybe a sexual experience with someone in your dream. You didn't look at them that way, and all of a sudden you do, right? You start feeling these potentially, where if it's a relationship thing, you'll feel it in the sacral or the solar plexus, in between those two, and even in the heart chakra. And these feelings, if it's a negative connection, can build up like that sort of butterfly effect, right? It's an anxiety. It's like a feeling of, kind of like a rejection even, and you think it's normal, right? But really it's influencing, or it's pulling on an emotional trauma, an emotional implant, which is leading you in that direction. Now, how does one know that you have these implants? Well, first of all, I would say 99.99% of humans here, of true source players, right, are implanted. So it's safe to assume that you're implanted, especially if you haven't done any energetic work on yourself, if you haven't had anyone else kind of clear these implants for you, because you really need to look into these regressive hypnosis sessions that people do, in which the person isn't clearing the implants for them. They're kind of the person doing the regression is guiding the person in the regression to then have these certain realizations and kind of extract the implants themselves, right? If the person doing the session is gifted enough, they will help them, and they'll help them see, and they'll do it for them even. But what you want to do is learn how to do it yourself, so that in case you're implanted again, or you kind of fall in vibration, you can bring yourself out of that, right? It's about gaining your sovereignty back. And a lot of people with implants, you'll notice, have I would say one of the main signs is any addiction you may have, right? Anything that is a habit that is uncontrollable by you. You feel like you're always doing it, you're always reacting to it, you're always making the same decision, and you're falling back into that. And again, I said on Twitter that you could also become addicted to people. So relationships, constant relationships of the same kind, of the same bond, trauma bond, that can be because of an implant, because it's attached to an emotional wound. Of course, the main thing would be to clear that emotional wound, which would then clear the implants, right? They have nothing to attach to, but that can be hard. especially when looking at the wounds or looking at the implants. There can also be some sort of trigger that can arise in your mind saying, no, that's dangerous. No, if I do that, I'll be hurt in some way, or that's not right for me. That can cause, you know, some sort of danger in my life or whatever, right? So it creates a sort of trigger. Now, I would say the ultimate implant is the ego. That's the parasite's mind. You know, people attribute the ego to the sense of self. It's the false sense of self. It's the parasitic mind. You can still walk around this reality, in my opinion, and feel a sense of self while feeling a sense of connectedness, right? The ego only gives you the sense of self, it doesn't give you the sense of connectedness. It's like a wave, or an ocean expressing itself as a wave. That wave knows it's part of the ocean, but it also knows that it's expressing itself as a wave at that specific moment in time. That's potentially what this game was created to be. Not a trick, but an experience as that wave, where it's a natural experience. Whereas now it's just a wave, and we only see other waves. We don't see the ocean anymore, okay? We can't see the forest for the trees. And you can simply look at that based on the hierarchy of this realm and the structure that everything feeds on one another, right? So that's already saying, hey, something went wrong here, right? So that is, in essence, the ultimate implant that is leading the other implants. And that's where enlightenment comes in. And the more you seek to return to that true sense of self, to that true connectedness, to source, the more you won't be able to be implanted anymore. Okay, so that's number 2, I guess. Number 3 could be dream phenomenon, like I talked about before. So a lot of people have heard about the physical abductions that happens through these negative alien beings that are seeking to extract our energy and harvest us. But what it can also happen is the astral phenomenon, the astral abductions. And this is more commonly denoted through sleep paralysis, right? That's why sleep paralysis always involves demons, because it's these beings that are literally trying to get you to be implanted because of certain decisions you've been making throughout your life, creating a lower vibrational frequency throughout your body. One of them being a use of psychoactive substances like shrooms or DMT or things like that, which can definitely make you susceptible to these implants, as it opens up your aura and makes you vulnerable, especially to the beings you encountered in that session that you may have done with the hallucinogenics, right? The trip. So during those, once you may have been paralyzed in your sleep, right? And sometimes you may not even remember it. Sometimes memories put to kind of give you a different impression of what may have happened in your sleep last night. But once that happens, or if you notice it, then you all of a sudden may notice your dreams getting very strange, or having, excessive nightmares. Definitely another symptom is excessive nightmares, and I'll categorize that with the number 3 in the dream section. Whereas these beings then come, usually it's the Greys, because they're kind of the minions, the workforce, and the hierarchy, from what I know it as, goes Greys, reptilians, and then these draconic beings, which are evolved reptilians with wings that can fly. They're kind of in charge, right? And from a lot of the regressions that I've seen, and from my own experiences, they say that, oh, we're just doing this for fun, for entertainment. We have fun messing with you guys. So, that's in a sense also energy extraction, because it's kind of like watching a movie. Oh, haha, I'm so degraded that I'm having fun watching you get slaughtered in that horror movie. Haha, it's hilarious, right? Again, just something to think about, something to be aware of. So what happens in this dream phenomenon is that you all of a sudden get taken to what may seem like a very illusory dream, even though the dream is already maybe synthetic by nature, or how it may feel. It may not feel as real, but it feels very real when you're in it. And the surroundings get get, in a sense, virtualized, and a different holographic scenario is created, so you can feel maybe more at peace or more safe. Um, that's for more of the positively oriented dreams. Some of them could be completely horrible, right? It could be create a hellish background, and I believe this is what happens with NDEs as well, because people, they leave the physical, go to the astral. That's where their NDE happens. Astral, heavily manipulated by these beings, and they're given all sorts of scenarios that suits their sort of beliefs, to then tell them, hey, oh, you got to come back, you know, you got to go back there, you know, we need you, you got a special purpose, right? Because effectively what we've done here is created a trauma bond with Earth, you know, based after it was hijacked. We may have been tricked back into saying, oh, look, you know, the Earth needs you to save it, save the Earth, and it provides your light and all that, to really break out of it from the inside. But really, the hijacking happened on the astral level, right, the higher aspect, because that's where it started. That's where the simulation potentially started, and then, you know, there's another idea that, you know, we may be visualizing this through pods, like in the Matrix, and we gotta wake up out of these pods and see what the heck happened, how it was hijacked, and really just leave if we want to. But I believe the source of the problem more than likely is there, not here. From here, we could potentially break the Matrix through a higher consciousness, and all of us becoming aware at once that it's a false reality. That would potentially, or not all of us, but a high majority, that would potentially break the Matrix, it would break the game, and we would probably all wake up out of those pods. But you know, first we have to realize we're implanted, what we're dealing with, and that takes a lot of introspection and looking at the deeper, darker truths that potentially are happening here, because truth sometimes is stranger than fiction, even though sometimes it's portrayed through fiction here, right? So that more than likely is the implantation phenomenon that happens, the symptoms regarding that, and the way these beings then capture you, and then they implant you not only on the physical level but at the ethereal level. Okay, so these people will then wake up with missing time or lost memories or false memories even, right? They can even implant false memories at the implant, then you access, and then all of a sudden a trauma comes up that you may think was yours, but it wasn't. Just like in Westworld, right? They had the cornerstone. It was a false memory that was keeping them in this reality, saying, oh, your son, or oh, this happened to you, and you know, you got to go back and fix it again, right? You got to be the savior. Again, the savior complex arises in many of us, potentially. Many of us that are awakening, that, you know, we think we were here for a special mission, when really we could possibly even be the only source players. And who are we here to save? NPCs? They're created by this reality, in essence, right? What are you gonna save? You can only save yourself. Okay. So yeah, I guess that gets into my solution, which is really studying this material, studying these regressions, maybe having your own done by someone you trust, someone that's not implanted themselves, someone that knows about these things, that has cleared them in their own bodies, in their own, right, ethereal and physical bodies, and really meditating and focusing on that true sense of self, to then develop your own gifts and your own abilities to clear them yourself and learn. The more we really learn about ourselves and what's really going on here, the more awareness we have of our situation, right? It's hard to solve a problem without knowing that there exists a problem, without having awareness of the actual problem. So that's really the first step. I'm trying to think if I missed anything regarding implantations, but yeah. And then something to be aware of, that once you clear these implantations, you kind of more than likely have a target on your back afterwards, if you didn't already, which will then lead to other phenomena happening in your life, which influences other implanted people to then come to you and give you these implants again, right? So another way to get implanted is having sex with people with implants, or engaging in relationships or interactions by your own conscious knowing with these people, which is why it's very important to always clean your aura, always meditate on source, cleaning your aura and connecting to source, cleaning your any implants or cords or attachments or portals that could be on you that is facilitating energy to others unconsciously, right? Just like with those medical practices that we saw pushed throughout 2020, if you have physical interaction with them, which saliva is passed, such as with sex, all of a sudden you then get the parasite into you. That is a physical representation of the transfer of this parasite. What I'm talking about is the ethereal, astral representation, and especially if you have sex in astrals, that is a big no-no. big no-no, something to definitely be aware of. Do not drink, do not kiss, do not have sex with anyone in the astrals, because more than likely you have been manipulated, more than likely you have been deceived, and that was not their actual form, that was not their true form. They can much more easily change their form in the astrals, as opposed to here where John Lamb Lash describes these archons as not being able to actually live here because of the nature of the earth, of how it is currently. So they're trying to really lower the vibration so they could either make us like them or make this place like them, for them to live here as well. But right now they only really exist on the astral level and on the very deep dark manifestations of the physical realm of the earth, or wherever this place is. Okay, yeah, so that's my video on that. Let me know if this helped you. Let me know if it helped you understand more about what you may be going through, if you're going through these experiences as well. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys with the next video.